Ebben az elismerésben bizonyára komoly része van az ugyanebben a sportcsarnokban megrendezett nagy sikerű hídfutóban, folyamokokban és...
Ajde, ruka noga, navali go. 11 sekundi izdržiš imaš ga, ajde, bori se. Da, tu, viš da se boji, kad vidiš na njega on se boji. Ne u potrebe. Njega.
Ahora Mr. Solo derecho, un poco más al solo, nada más.
Обратите внимание на ритм выполнения и высоту выполнения упражнения спортсменкой. Вот связка из двух сложных элементов. Посмотрите, спортсменка как бы наращивает высоту. Ну, мы теперь можем с уверенностью, так сказать, поздравить Иру Блудову и ее тренеров Галину Никитичну Соломатину.
Конечно, Вадим Красношапка гораздо опытней. Но давайте посмотрим его упражнение. Тоже выполняет 3 тройных сальто. Выполняет чисто довольно-таки и ритмично. Почти всю комбинацию прошел в центре. Было небольшое смещение в начале комбинации.
The Hunter Drug Advisory Service, a branch of the Health Commission, says methadone is not a panacea, but is useful in a small proportion of cases. It says methadone gives some people the chance of reform, but is not a cure for addiction. The service's leader, Mr. Raoul Walsh, says such a program must be tightly regulated and candidates screened to ensure it isn't wasted on casual heroin users or those who would continue to use heroin as well. Mr. Walsh says the government's main aim appears to be the reduction of crime.
Basically what a methadone program does is give people who are carefully assessed a free state-supplied narcotic. So it enables them to reduce their involvement in crime and perhaps increase their chance of employment. But it doesn't cure their addiction. It's not a cure for addiction.
So what the Premier has in mind here is more easing of the social problem for the community at large and not for the individual.
Well, obviously he's also hoping for benefits for the individual, and for some heroin users there will be benefits. But the basic thrust of it is, yes, to try and reduce some of the social costs of heroin use, involvement in crime, and unemployment, chronic unemployment, and general, a lifestyle that revolves totally around getting money to use an illegal narcotic.
The new supermarket, which opens at 8:30 this morning, is part of a $25 million project at the Jasmine Shopping Centre. The supermarket has 1,951 square metres of retail space, a quarter of which is devoted to variety merchandise. It replaces the old Woolworths, which is to be remodelled into a variety store. To mark the closure of the old supermarket yesterday, which coincided with 20 years of trading, a presentation was made to the last shopper to pass through the checkout. Mrs. Carl Canno of Toronto received free groceries, coffee and flowers. Rising rivers are causing concern in the lower Hunter following last night's torrential downpours and gusty winds, and flood warnings have been posted for the Patterson and Williams rivers. The Patterson River at Gosport is expected to peak at 12.3 metres at 6 o'clock tonight. Minor flooding is also expected on the Williams River at Mill Dam Falls. Rainfall registrations for the 6 hours to 6 o'clock this morning were 40 millimetres at the Upper Allen, 34 millimetres at Upper Chichester and 34 millimetres at Dungog. Conditions on Lake Macquarie were rough, with many yacht owners trying to secure their boats. The 2 yachts at Toronto, though, help came too late. Both these 9-metre vessels broke loose from their moorings and ran aground near the Royal Motor Yacht Club at Toronto. Salvage attempts have been postponed until the winds abate. In Newcastle Harbour, 1 yachtsman was seized to be in calm waters. The vessel, Rough and Tumble, was competing in the Lord Howe Island yacht race when the weather worsened and it was forced into port. It was one of 6 yachts to retire from the race. Outside the harbour, the seas were high, forcing ships to port safer anchorage. Nobby's signal station registered gusts up to 56 knots in the early hours of this morning.
He clearly will have some support. Mr Saunders is a good candidate. He did very well at the last state election. Got a very large superannuation, capital gains taxes, which have an impact, of course, right around the nation. The situation in Newcastle and the Hunter region this time is very much more volatile. I think it's mostly due to the, I believe, the abject stupidity of the state government in sacking Newcastle Council. That really has put the cat amongst the pigeons in a sense, and I believe that the ordinary people in Newcastle and the Hunter will start to ask themselves whether it really is in their interest to maintain a 100% Labor monopoly on a whole region.
Do you think the former Deputy Lord Mayor, Mr Don Geddes, who's also running for the seat of Newcastle, will pose a threat to your candidate, Mr Ashley Saunders?
Mr Geddes is running partly as a protest against the state government sacking the council, which of course is part of a state government desire to maintain Labor control, which would have been lost not only of the council but I think of the Lord Mayoralty. He clearly will have some support. Mr Saunders is a good candidate. He did very well at the last state election, got a very large swing in Waratah. I think the seat of Newcastle is quite unpredictable. If there was to be a shock result anywhere around Australia on the 1st of December, it might well be in the seat of Newcastle.
Throsby Creek, which winds its way towards the port of Newcastle, conjures a brown, slimy image to those who simply drive by. But there are some who see a brighter future for the creek. They admit that the improvements can't happen overnight, but they're willing to work towards that aim. Today, a committee of parliamentarians, Hunter District Water Board employees, public works officers, council officers and residents met to determine the terms of reference for an environmental improvement study to Throsby Creek. The study will focus on the pollution problems, flooding and siltation, and decide on who is responsible. It will also establish who will foot the bill for beautification. And as the member for Waratah, Mr John Price explained,
see the rebirth of Throsby Creek.
Well, it's a long way down the trail, but the point is today's meeting starts it. We've now commissioned the Public Works Department to go ahead and inquire of their consultants as to who would like to undertake this sort of work and approximately how much it would cost. And then it will be the role of Arthur Wade and myself to approach all the ministers involved to contribute funding towards that study. Now we've got at least 4 ministers who have indicated they're prepared to financially support that. Once the study's done, and I would imagine it could take 6 to 9 months, We will then be in a position to know just what can be done, what the area can be used for when it's finished, and what the cost will be, and also, of course, the development can be staged. And at that point, we'll then go back and approach those ministers again and see who is finally going to accept the responsibility, either in part or in whole, for the project.
Anyone going along to see Stardust is undoubtedly going to see Googie Withers, John McCallum and Sir Robert Helpman, as the applause on their entrances last night suggests, and that's probably just as well, since patrons won't be seeing much of a play. Stardust was written by Lord Ted Willis, who's had a hand in many a good comedy, but Stardust is not one of those. It's a rather tired old piece about getting old, and it manages to dredge up some dreadfully old jokes to fill up a plot where nothing much happens. And unfortunately, the polish and sparkle expected from the leading actors was only intermittently present. The first half was rather slow and flat, with lines not being picked up as quickly as they might. Newcastle is the first stop on a tour that takes Stardust north to the Twin Towns and south to St George Leagues Club, and I got the feeling that perhaps the show isn't properly run in yet. However, it's a very handsome looking production, and that, along with the presence of the stars, should ensure that Stardust does get an audience.
A dispute over the implementation of a 38-hour week has been simmering between Eastern Nitrogen and the Australian Workers' Union for some 9 months. This week, negotiations broke down completely, and the company says it's inevitable the whole plant will be shut down. One half of the manufacturing process was halted 2 weeks ago. AWU members employed at Eastern Nitrogen are responsible for loading trucks, so with nothing going out, the plant has run out of room to stockpile. One of Eastern Nitrogen's main products is nitropel, a fertiliser-like material used with the addition of fuel oil as an explosive in the mining industry. However, both DuPont and ICI, the major explosives manufacturers in the Upper Hunter, say the dispute at present has not had any effect, and both companies expect to be able to continue to supply their customers. ICI, however, says it will watch the situation closely.